You know, Uncle Dan.
Yes.
Way back in episode 160.
Lo those many moons ago.
Lo those months ago. We had a little chat about the very peculiar and very hypnotic culture of the semi-annual Mormon General Conference. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What a wonderful time we had.
Everybody loves to hear about boring Mormons being boring.
Well, not everybody, Dan.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we got some pushback about that.
Trouble in paradise.
Some very, very high-level pushback. And it came from the upper floors of the Vertical Vatican in downtown Salt Lake City. And here at the How To Heretic, we are nothing if not fair. So, in the interest of preserving the precious and completely fucking flawed notion that both sides of an argument are equally valid,
right,
we've invited three towering figures of the LDS church leadership here to rebut our position. So, heretics, please welcome from beyond the veil, Elder Boyd K. Packer.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored.
Wow. A ghost is appearing on our show. This both blows the doors off of our claim, our ostensible claim that there is no afterlife, and possibly refutes what we had to say about General Conference being boring. Elder Packer, tell us a bit about your view. We claimed that General Conference, Mormon General Conference, was, if not designed as functionally, it was merely torture for the many members of your church.
3 hours to prevent boys from masturbating, I think is what it was.
I would agree. Now that I've passed on, I've realized what a boring general sessions they were. And now, on the other side, I see the light. I've masturbated. I masturbate in heaven. It's a wonderful thing.
Wow. Your little factory's going nuts, huh?
Yeah, it's a big factory now.
Well, welcome, Brother Boyd. And also, that's you guys, this is a triple threat today. And also, back from his own celestialized planet, please welcome prophet, seer, and revelator, and recent past president of Mormonism, Inc., Thomas S. Monson.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about some serious topics.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And we're very excited to hear about how things are beyond the veil.
Wonderful.
So you're most welcome, Your Former Excellency, and from right here in this mortal probation, please welcome Apostle Jeffrey R. Holland. Welcome, Elder Holland.
I only have one question as to why you would ask me on this very irreverent and ungodly podcast. Why? Why are you doing the devil's work?
Well, I understand that you're upset, and you were upset with our segment, and we're going to give you every opportunity to talk about that. But let me introduce one final guest, and that is I tricked you. That wasn't, audience, I tricked you, and I tricked you, Uncle Dan. That wasn't any of those guys. It was just this one guy. You may know him as one of the clever kids from the K-pop and the hippity hop, and of course, the TikTok, who calls himself Genie Man, but he is and always will be Utah's own Mitch Shira, actor and online comedy Mormon impersonator. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah,
yes.
Tricked everyone. Everyone thought that they were all there on your podcast. So
everyone definitely thought that. Definitely.
Yeah, I think the show title might be "It's a Big Factory Now." So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, and you know, for those of you outside of the Mormon spectrum, I hope you'll just enjoy this anyway. Mitch is kind of a bit of a Mormon spectrum hip hop TikTok star because he does these impressions of Mormon general authorities and prophets and whatnots online, and it's kind of a wonderful thing. And so, Mitch, why don't you tell us a little bit about your life in the church, your journey out, and your journey to Genie Man?
Yeah, well, man, what a long story. You sitting down? Because this takes about 5 hours.
Try and make it not quite as boring as a church service.
Oh,
yeah,
all right.
An elevator pitch, but in the elevator in the church office building. So you got a little time.
So you got some time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I was born and raised in the church, born in the covenant. Was very faithful, had a very faithful family. 8 brothers, so we had a huge family going to church. And
You ate your brothers?
yeah, I ate my brothers, and that's where it all started.
Was it all boys at your house?
yeah, all boys. So 9 boys altogether, including me.
Jesus.
Wow.
So yeah, we were, I guess we were the traditional, typical Mormon family. Lots of kids. I did the whole 9 yards. I went to primary. I always went to Boy Scouts and did the whole young men's and prepared for my mission, went on a mission, full 2-year mission, and went to South Korea. And I absolutely loved it. Even though, later in life I realized everything I was peddling was bullshit, but no,
But you didn't know that at the time.
I did not. I was a huge advocate for quote unquote the truth. So I would just bear my testimony and let the Spirit do the rest.
How did the Koreans receive that?
It's a, I guess technically speaking, it is a compared to Mormon standards, or if you compare missions, but it is a harder mission to get conversions. And they were, and what's really interesting is actually you would think that there are the predominant religion over there is actually half and half. Half of them are Buddhist, and the other half are Christian. And so even clear over in Korea, I would confront Korean pastors that would pull out their Bible, and then they'd be like, Joseph Smith did this and this and this, right? And I'd be like, lies.
And they're pretty evangelical, right? It's like pretty evangelical Christianity.
Yeah. So even over in South Korea, it was a lot of, I ran into a lot of Korean Christians that really did not like Mormons or Joseph Smith, and I don't know why. I still haven't figured that out to this day. But
what's not to like?
I know. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, I served a full 2 years, loved it. Strengthened my testimony. Got back. Found a wife, as I was counseled to do, as quickly as possible. Got married.
So within about a week, right?
Yep. Within about a week. And had 2 beautiful daughters. And it was about that time, a little after the birth of my second daughter, that I just started to realize some things about the church that I didn't like. And started out with just doctrinal issues, a very traditional point of view of like I guess the best way to say it is I started to see I was reading the New Testament at the time, and I started to see the LDS church as Christ described the Sadducees and Pharisees. I was like, wait a minute, this is awfully close to what the Mormon church does as compared to what the Sadducees and Pharisees did. So that was my trajectory. I just started really diving into a lot of the doctrinal things that I questioned. And
well, that's your problem right there.
I know.
You're not supposed to think about those things.
No, I'm.
And at some point,
it's okay if you think about it, but as long as you don't act on it, you're fine.
Yeah. At some point, did you bump into the CES letter, or was this prior to that?
This was prior to that, but it was not long after that. My buddy, my childhood friend, he and his wife had left about a year or 2 before, and he introduced me to that. He said, "Hey, if you're," he knew that I was kind of questioning some things, but I was still very strong in the church. I wasn't planning on leaving, and he said, "If you want to study some more, then you should look at this letter or this document." And I read it, and man, that rocked my world. But it made sense at that time. I was like, well, after the shock kind of settled, I thought, this isn't far off. I've been having a lot of questions, and things have been not hitting me right, and now this explains a lot of it.
Yeah, and so would you describe what we call your shelf breaking sometime around that time?
Yeah, that was around when my shelf started to crack and break, and then about 2016, 17, I I officially just said, you know what, I can't be honest and go to church and say I believe in this crap anymore. So I stopped.
Nice.
And you got the benefit of not having to listen to all those guys that you were just doing impersonations of anymore.
That's true. Yeah, and it's so crazy how I'm sure you guys all know once you come out of the bubble, you go from a believing member of like drinking from the palms of those men's hands. You're like, wow, this is wonderful. Oh, what's he gonna say next? And then you come out and you're like, man, I was an idiot. What was I thinking? Like now I'll see a general conference talk and be like, oh, this is so damn boring, and they're just saying the same things they've been saying for the last 200 years. So,
well, and you weren't exaggerating with those impressions. It's like, I don't know if you watched The Vow on HBO, which is about the Nexium cult. But they kept talking about Nancy Saltzman, who was one of the founding members, one of the big higher ups there, who had studied neuro-linguistic programming, which is like has to do with like talking in a very slow, methodical manner and sort of lulling people into a sense of into a
semi-conscious
crazy
state.
almost a trance state where then they were susceptible to suggestion or whatever. And the more they talked about it, the more I was like, I grew up with that. That was that was inflicted on me.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about how you decided to start. I mean, obviously you're a voice actor, right?
Yes. I mean, I guess I should say an aspiring actor / voice actor. I just graduated 2019 with my degree in theater. And so I'm just a young little, I guess, a baby in the acting world, just starting out.
A whippersnapper.
But a talented impressionist / voice actor. And so did you just start doing that to the general authorities to just kind of amuse yourself?
So while I was an active member, I actually did impressions of mainly of Gordon B. Hinckley, and that was my first. I actually learned that one on my mission. I would just start imitating him, and I would leave. I would, when I was like district leader, I would call some missionaries to get them to give me their numbers, and I would do it as Gordon B. Hinckley.
Oh, it's a good prank.
Yeah, and then I just went on from there and started learning Monson, Perry, and so as a member, a lot of members actually enjoyed it because I usually would talk about little things like what they were doing for Christmas or Easter,
right,
or just something like that, and so
good wholesome impressions.
And so, after leaving the church this last summer, I'd been about 2 years out of the church, and I finally bit the bullet, downloaded TikTok, and I was sitting there, and I found the ex-Mormon community on TikTok, and it was beautiful, and I was like, wow, people are sharing their experiences. There was some humor, and it was really healing, and I was like, I'd like to contribute to this. And then I was like, well, but I know how to do these.
Right. Oh my God, I have a particular set of skills.
And so I could actually really make fun of these quote unquote holy men who did so much damage being leaders of the church, and really throw them under the bus. And it's cathartic. At first I will admit it was pretty. There were a couple times where it was tough. My Mormon brain kind of took over, and it was like, you're not doing good, Mitch. You're speaking ill of the Lord's anointed, and their families are going to be so disappointed. Your family, if they find this. And I just had to look past that and go, no, I don't. I'd remind myself, first of all, hey, Mitch, guess what? It's bullshit. Remember? and then remind myself the reason I got into acting in the first place. I love trying to make a change. I love putting smiles on people's faces. I love interacting that way. And so I knew that even though the content, according to some Mormons and actually some ex-Mormons, it's a little dark. I get a little dark humor, but it's healing for me. And I know a few have reached out to me letting me know that it's healing for them as well. And so that's why I do it.
Well, let me.
Have you heard
sorry.
back from any like current Mormons just telling you that you're so mean?
Yes, I've tried to learn to let those comments roll off my back, because usually they'll say something like, the most common is like, "Wow, Satan is really hard at work these days," and the typical rhetoric of an active member or a Christian. That's just like, "Oh, you're doing the devil's work," or another favorite is what do they say? It was prophesied that the most chosen and elect would fall away, and it's just like, okay, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Shut up. So before we ask you to kind of have some fun with it, I just want to, for non-Mormon listeners who may not be aware of who these guys really are and how richly they deserve this kind of treatment, which is actually quite gentle, really. I'm going to read a couple things that some of these guys have said. This is Boyd K. Packer, who we'll enjoy in a minute with Mitch, who one of many things he said was, while I was in a mission on one occasion, a missionary said he had something to confess. After patient encouragement, he finally blurted out, "I hit my companion." "Oh, is that all?" I said in great relief. "But I floored him," he said. After learning a little more, my response was, "Well, thanks. Somebody had to do it, and it wouldn't be well for a general authority to solve the problem that way. And I am not recommending that, of course, course to you, but I am not omitting it." That is him talking about a missionary hitting what he found out was a gay companion and knocking
I think
him
you
out.
mean by hitting you mean taking appropriate action.
Exactly. And here he is again, discussing homosexuality in general conference. "There is a falsehood that some are born with an attraction to their own kind. With nothing they can do about it, they are just that way, and can only yield to those desires. That is a malicious and destructive lie. While it is a convincing idea to some, it is of the devil." Here is Thomas S. Monson, who we'll hear again on this show. In 1970, he said, 1970 marked the 50th anniversary of the right of women to vote in the United States. And from this base came a description of the goals and demands that are now being made by some women: free abortion, free child care, and equal employment. You can imagine.
How dare they?
And then one last thing. This is Boyd K. Packer again, because it's so much is attributed to him. Mm-hmm. "There is a temptation for the writer or the teacher of church history to want to tell everything, whether it is worthy or faith-promoting or not. Some things that are true are not very useful." So these are not what I would call good men. So mm-hmm. I think they have that coming. And I found the TikTok to our recording system interface very problematic, Mitch. So I wonder if you could just kind of paraphrase maybe, one or two of the things you've done on TikTok in character.
Yeah. One of the earlier ones, I guess for Packer, I did talk about little factories. In one of them.
Yeah.
But
that's a reference, just so that people know, that's a reference to, was it a talk that he gave or a pamphlet that he put out?
I think it was a combination. He gave a talk, and it may have been based on the pamphlet that he released.
It was a multimedia presentation.
Sure. It was a film strip.
But Packer's notorious for being one of the most homophobic leaders. And so one of the things I did was basically, I guess, part of my platform is to have the general authorities confess. And so for Packer, it was more of like a confession that what he had done may have been wrong, and he's just starting to realize it. So it was more of like, let's see if I can.
Several years ago, at the University of Brigham Young, we did things there that were not right in the sight of the Lord. We performed shock therapy, where we would electrify their genitals to see if they would get aroused as we showed them male pornography, in which I would also get aroused. And so, naturally, I shocked my own penis.
Stuff, stupid stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very.
And that's pretty dark, considering that is legit what happened at BYU.
Yes, and that's some ex-members will say, "Hey, this is healing, but it's also triggering at the same time because it's so real." It's like, okay.
Yeah. So you kind of voice these guys kind of admitting to their crimes, right?
Yeah, basically doing what they should, teaching what, and apologizing, or being the humans that maybe they should have been in those instances, instead of especially claiming to be true followers of Christ. I mean, and so it's more of like
and having revelation, right?
having revelation for the one true church. So basically, what that would be like if they actually were doing the right thing.
Well, I thought we could have a little fun here to kind of close out the segment, and so we've asked Mitch to dig deep and to channel these personages, and we thought it might be fun to have you do some dramatic readings as one of your venerated Mormon professions. So,
All right.
if you're down with it, why don't we start with Elder Holland giving an emotional reading of Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham.
All right. Let me grab Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Is this the reason that I was brought on this show? To
Absolutely.
read this bull crap?
That's
right.
all we got for you.
I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. Would you like them here or there? I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse? I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere.
Wow, that might be the truest thing he ever said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably how he read stories to his kids at night.
The most sincere. And then, of course, I think it might be really illuminating for people to hear President Thomas S. Monson, recently deceased President Thomas S. Monson, reading from Cameo's 1986 R&B smash hit, Word Up.
So before you do that, I just want to put a picture in our listeners' heads. Those of you who weren't Mormon, just imagine Danny DeVito as the Penguin, and you'll have a pretty good analog.
But like 6'4" at the same
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Is this what I'm supposed to read? Word up. All right. Quote. Yo, pretty ladies around the world, got a weird thing to show you. So tell all the boys and the girls, tell your brother, your sister, and your mama too. Because we're about to go down, and you know just what to do. Wave your hands in the air like you don't care. Glide by the people as they start to look and stare. And finally, bring us... Oh, that was it.
Word up, President
Word
Monson. Excellent. Well done.
Oh.
And then, of course, we need a kind of a bright emotional note to finish on. And that brings us to the very demented mind of Boyd K. Packer, reading from the lyrics of Nine Inch Nails' Hurt, their industrial ballad of pain and alienation from their 1994 album Downward Spiral. Brother Packer, if you would.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears a hole. The old familiar string, try to kill it all away. But I remember everything. What have I become? My sweetest friend, everyone I know, goes away in the end. Close call.
In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Well, I think that is going to absolutely destroy our Exmo listeners, and a lot of other people are going to hopefully be enjoying it as well.
Yeah.
So, Mitch, that's fantastic. Thank you. If people want to find you and see more of your work and see some of these amazing TikToks, what should they do?
Right now TikTok is the main one. They can reach out to me on Facebook if they want to message me for anything. I'm also doing, so I guess message me on TikTok or Facebook.
And what on Facebook, are you Mitch Shira or are you Genie Man?
On Facebook, I am Mitchell Gene Shira.
Okay.
So MITCHELGNESHIRA.
And TikTok. Now I'm an older guy, so TikTok, is that a Twitter? Is that I'm not 100% familiar with.
It's more, it's like.
Is it a meme? Is that what it is? I hear about these memes.
A meme?
It's kind of like the Urim and Thummim of our day. You just kind of look into it and see revelation after revelation.
Nice.
So.
And they're your Genie_man, right?
Correct. And I do. I'm still trying to set up some things. But I'm doing, personal birthday wishes and general authorities voices or voicemail messages or anything for parties that you want me to pre-record. Just reach out to me and I'm starting to work that way as well.
Nice.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I thought that was a hoot.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was a hoot. I always love making fun of those old, terrible men.
and we'll be sure to put a trigger warning at the beginning of the show about it.
All right. Well, thanks. With that, let's move on.